see my screen on my own, and you can hear me
Yes,
quite
we
well.
can see your screen, sir. We can
And
see
you
your
can just
screen,
drop
although
a message.
the all right, we can see your screen, but just there's a friction in your voice. It's breaking, but we can see.
Hello, is it better now?
Perfect. Yes, sir. It's better now. Better now, sir. You can go on, sir.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so continuing from where the last speaker stopped, we're still on the human factor on social engineering and insider threats. I will be focusing more on insider threats. I know by now I already know what social engineering is. Yeah, right, make up these attacks. Now, we already know that your employees of organizations, they are the biggest asset of an organization is actually the employee, and they are also the biggest or the biggest cyber security trained employees, biggest link of the organization, and they can bring down the organization. Before we go forward, talking about insider threats, an insider is an employee of an organization. Could also be a vendor, a supplier, someone giving out service. And that vendor is registered on the platform of that organization, has access to certain levels of the organization. Offering
Hello, sir. I don't think we can clearly hear you. I think it's network issues. Hello, sir. Are you speaking? Because I don't think we can hear you, sir.
Oh, sorry, I did not unmute
Oh,
myself.
all right, sir.
As I was saying, we would also be looking at insider threats as an overlooked risk when it comes to cyber attacks and cyber security. We'll take some real-world case studies of recent attacks and see how much damage they had on the organizations and certain industries. We also look at, of course, certain statistics and data. And then finally, defense strategies. So we won't just talk about, oh, this is what's happening, this is what's happening. How do you defend yourself as an organization, as an individual, from social engineering attacks? They will summarize to our key takeaway. Okay, thank you. All right, so what is social engineering? Social engineering is hacking humans, right? Not hacking technology. So it mainly uses psychology, all right? An attacker plays on your intelligence in terms of your urgency, trust, fear, curiosity, exploits various levels of your psychological being, and then makes you give him information, or even make you carry out certain activities that will enable the attack to be successful. All right, so it's the easiest form of attack anyway. Social engineering attack is the easiest and is the oldest form of attacks, right? Because you don't need much technical knowledge. You don't need much technical know-how. Anybody can carry out a social engineering attack. I'm sure almost all of us, if not all of us, be involved in a social engineering attack as a victim. It doesn't necessarily have to be successful, but we would have been exposed to at least one or two during our lifetime. Now, something that we need to know about social engineering attack is that it's not fixed. There's no fixed way of doing it. The attackers kind of make use of things going on during that particular time, your environment, the political setting, so many things. For example, during COVID, there were a lot of social engineering attacks that had to do with palliatives and all that. So at different times, it depends on what strength what I'm used to manipulate. All right. Now it's easier to manipulate someone into giving you his password than you trying to get those login credentials, right? So that makes social engineering very, very effective. All right, because of course the technology is already there to protect and add so many layers of protection when it comes to having access to certain information. The human mind can easily be taken controlled, not really taken over, can easily be controlled. And then the human layer of the human layer comes above the technological layer when it comes to organizational structure. So it's the humans that make use of it. All right. So if you can compromise the human layer, you can have access to the technological layer. All right. Common social engineering techniques. This was already explained by the previous speaker, so I'll just breeze through. We have phishing. That's where you receive fraudulent emails from trusted sources on your bank, this and that. Your account will be locked because you have BVN issues. Give out your banking information, all those kind of things. Now, spear phishing is something I want us to focus on here because it's actually what a lot of attackers use when doing social engineering, right? They don't just send out mails randomly. They focus on targeted individuals. So if you have a company, let's say if I want to conduct a social engineering attack, I would target maybe the MD or the head of IT, someone that has privileged access, that has a lot of access. If I can compromise his login or his details, I would have a lot of access in the organization. So spear phishing is you are targeting particular individuals of high repute in the organization. Now we also have phishing, which uses voice, using phone and all that. And I'll just add this with phishing. Because of improvement in AI, this is also becoming more advanced. You just need someone to talk for about a minute or two. You can get the recording, and AI can, give you any form of video. Both both audio and video recording of the person. And I'm sure those of us that go online now see Donald Trump adverts talking and all that. People that are quite, that you see them more on social media, online, you get a lot of AI misrepresentations of them easily. All right, so that is also taking a lot of ground when it comes to social media engineering techniques. So you can easily get the voice recording of, or creative voice recording, now take voice recording of, let's say, the MD of XYZ Limited, instructing individuals to carry out certain financial transactions. All right, pretexting is just fabricating false identity or fabricating false scenario so you can gain trust from the victim. Now, of course, it works in the sense that you are creating a scenario to make the person relax, to make the person trust you, and then give out whatever information he wants. Baiting is, of course, all those malicious attachments, malware attachments. All right. Impersonation is also something very, very common now. You see from some of our case studies, you see that individuals or attackers used impersonation by posing as IT support staff, to get information out of unsuspecting staff of the organization. Tailgating, that's a physical one. People physically gaining unauthorized access to certain restricted locations within an organization by following someone with unauthorized access, and the person uses his card and lets them in. All right. So why social engineering is so effective? Spoken about this in the last session. Attackers exploit psychological weaknesses. They exploit your instincts to follow authority. They exploit that fear of, I may not be able to access maybe certain things, probably I may not be able to access my account over the weekend because I have issues right now. I need to solve it immediately. So they put that urgency there as well. They build trust, right? And then there's another thing that attackers use to social proof. So they give you that experience that, this is what other people are doing. This person has done it effectively. This is what he gained and all that. And then you, as a human being, a lot of us will follow that bandwagon effect. So you also, drop down your guard and, become victim to this. All right, now talking about insider threats. When it comes to, of course, I've already explained who an insider is. Any employee within the organization, vendors, anybody within the organization that has access or legitimate access within the organization to carry out his functions that he was employed to do, right? He's an insider, all right? Everybody within an organization has a particular level of threat or a particular level of risk they show to that organization. Now, as an insider, sometimes you may be involved in some level of security incidents. It could be intentional, it may not be intentional. So from the information here, over 77% of organizations have experienced insider data breaches, insider cause data breaches in the last 18 months. All right, we're not looking only at, because a lot of people look at cyber attacks as losing phones. No, data is more important than anything in when you talk about security. Data is the most important thing. A lot of people pay a lot of money for data. So there are a lot of sites where data is being traded. All right, so over 77% of organizations have experienced some level of insider caused data breach in the last 18 months. 62% of that 77% was unintentional. So it's either by accident, by negligence, maybe the employee was not properly trained, gave out data or lost data by mistake, right? And then 16% could be malicious. Now, that is deliberate. Sometimes you might have an employee that was, passed over for promotion, and then he has some level of content for the organization and decides to sabotage the organization. So he decides to, involve himself in selling out data to the competition. You have some people leaving an organization, they are not happy with the organization they are leaving. Maybe they were not treated well, they want to cause some damage before leaving. So that's 16% falls under malicious. Now, if you look at this, you see the insider threats, most of it is unintentional, but that does not mean it doesn't have damage. All right, that I don't intend to kill someone. That is just, sorry for this, for going to the extreme. That I don't intend to kill someone, and I mistakenly killed someone. I have killed someone. All right, it doesn't matter whether it was intentional or unintentional. Now, just a few case studies why we are here. You might be wondering, we've not really seen such thing as insider cost attacks. And then it's also an overlooked risk, but it happens. And then another thing I've noticed from the field is that a lot of organizations tend to manage this kind of high, because one very big reason is the fact that no organization would want to say someone I employ has stolen my customers' data or my customers' money, right? It loses trust, it loses reputation and goodwill. All right, so they tend to try to manage it. Sometimes some don't even report it. All right, but it happens a lot. All right, so here are some case studies. So for the insider threat, like I said, it could be intentional, it could be unintentional. It could also be maybe the employee has his information compromised, his credentials compromised, maybe stolen, maybe his phone has been stolen, his work laptop has been stolen or something, and then it's been exploited by external hackers, external attackers. I just said I should point that out. All right, so back to our case studies. Now we have the first one where we have Scattered Spider, they are a hacker group. Yeah, so they used smishing of phishing to impersonate employees. They also manipulated multi-factor authentication. And then this happened, they did this on Caesars Palace and MGM Entertainment. Now, Caesars Palace is a hotel and casino in Las Vegas. MGM Entertainment, they're into movies and so many things. I think they're owned by Amazon right now. I think Amazon bought them up, but these are two very big organizations in the US. And how did they do this? They impersonated employees, and then they used, by impersonating employees, they targeted the IT help desk administrators, and then also some of the cybersecurity team, tricked them into giving them access to certain or dropping multi-factor authentication access for some time, and then use this to get unauthorized access into the system. They carted away with about 6 terabytes of data. For Caesars Palace, they did not compromise that they didn't pay the ransom because they demanded for ransom. They didn't pay the ransom, and then there was a fallout of them losing over $100 million because of that. For MGM Entertainment, they ended up paying the ransom of $15 million. So both sides lost money, one more than the other. But the main thing is you've lost data, customer data, credit card information, personal data, and so many other information, the organization's data and all that. And then there will be a fallout, litigation, court cases and all that for those that were damaged because of that. All right. Now for the next one, we have Mad Liberator. These ones, they actually posed as IT help desk staff and then sent AnyDesk request to, I'll just explain what AnyDesk is. AnyDesk is like a remote solution where you can remotely access a system. So IT help desk staff use it to remotely access these, maybe when they are issues. Right, so you don't have to be there physically. Now, Mad Liberator used that AnyDesk and posed as the IT help desk staff, and then assessed employees, unknowing employees' systems, and ran a fake Windows update. So they used the fake Windows update screen to exfiltrate data, and it wasn't found out until 4 hours later. So those guys lost a lot of data. So it took 4 hours before it was detected. Now, for KnowBe4, this is a funny one because KnowBe4 is actually a cybersecurity training organization. So they train, I'm sure a lot of us have been exposed to them through this interactive training for cybersecurity awareness and all that, the exams and all that. And the attack was not successful anyway, but the attackers from North Korea tried to, hack their system. What they did was they actually came for employment. So they went through the employment process. About four individuals went through the employment process and went through 4 interview stages. Sorry, it was 3 individuals, went through 4 interview stages, used AI videos to, AI enhanced videos and photos to hide their identity during the interview stage. And they were cleared, and immediately they resumed for work. They uploaded, immediately they got their, what's it called? Login details and everything, and the MacBook laptop, workstation, rather. Yeah, laptop. I don't know if that's a laptop or a desktop, but they got a workstation. They immediately uploaded a malware into it. But luckily, KnowBe4 had very good enterprise detection solutions that identified it and stopped it from happening. And then under investigation, they found out that these guys were in South Korea and trying to hack them. For the Star Health data leak, this was in India. Star Health is one of the biggest medical insurance companies in India. So the attackers actually compromised someone within the organization, a privileged employee. So when I say privileged, you're a privileged insider, someone of high ranking within the organization, maybe like head of IT, head of HR or something. Then the person assisted them with his login details, and they carted away its 31 million customers' records. They sold it on Telegram. It was a big deal then. Sensitive information, of course, health data is sensitive information. It was sold on Telegram, and then they carted away with that. So that's real-world case studies. Something similar with what happened with KnowBe4 happened in Nigeria in a bank, where someone, came into the bank as an entry-level staff, went through the trainings, and immediately got his password, start posting on the system as a teller. He went away with 20 million that same day. They never saw him again. The bank had not yet completed their background checks. Those things take time. Checking your guarantor, your referees and all that, checking your school, your degree and all that. They have not yet completed that before the guy carted away with their money. Till today, nobody knows where he is. He went away with 20 million naira. So we have a lot of cases like that in Nigeria, but it's not really open for the public. There are some open that we are aware of. Most times, a lot of people just hide those things. All right. So moving forward, what does the data tell us? Most data breaches have a human element, at least 60% of it, right? There's been an increase of insider social engineering attacks. So it has moved from 12% to 18% between 2024 and 2025. This data is from 2025. All right. Phishing also brings about 15% of all cyber attacks. And then we also see that attackers now use prompt bombing. So even when you have multi-factor authentication involved in your authentication process, there are way attackers, if they can get your login details, username and password, they start, logging in, you start receiving message for your MFA, verifying if you are the one. And then they expect that if they keep on flooding it like that, you might mistakenly click accept once, or maybe just to stop those mails from coming in, you just accept it or something. So they expect, they want you to make a mistake, then they will not be able to access the system. Now, for this prompt bombing, the way people have gone, or the way organizations have gone about it now, is that your 2FA requires you to type something. But I still notice that some still allow you to just click yes or no, like, are you the one that's trying to log in? Yes. I know Google still does that, where it's telling you someone is trying to access your Google account. And if you are the one, just click accept or reject, right? Now, third-party risk has doubled in the last 1 year, from 15% to 20 in 2024 to 30% in 2025. Now, third-party risk is risk from your third-party service providers, your vendors, the person supplying the organization, maybe diesel for your gen, the person supplying you some of your raw materials and all that. The risk they have on their system, because they are integrated with yours, especially if you are using like a CRM, because it's I think CRM or a workflow, where they have to log in, create accounts on your system as a third party. It could inherently cause risk. So third party risk is something that a lot of organizations are looking into right now, because you can have everything well within your own organization, then you still have your vendors bringing in risk or causing in some level of cyber attacks within your industry, your organization. Now, what do we need to do to improve our human firewall? What do we need to do to strengthen or reduce the vulnerability to insider threats and social engineering attacks? And the first thing you need to do is to recognize that you have to put in some level of organizational defense. Then also, each employee has certain actions he needs to be involved in as well. So the first thing you need to have for organizational defense is your multi-factor authentication. Your username and password is fine, but the third layer of authentication authorization is also required. In case that username and password gets, your MFA would help you out. Also, you need an EDR, that is endpoint detection and response. All right. An EDR is just a solution that monitors your whole network environment, and checks for wrong behavior. It uses behavioral analysis, uses patterns to detect and say, oh, this thing is not normal. Let's alert. So it alerts you or alerts the admin, and then the admin takes action. All right. So as an organization, it's good to have an enterprise, an endpoint detection response tool in place or solution in place. Now, when we're talking about endpoints, we mean every system within the organization network. It could be laptops, it could be phones, it could be network printers, it could be security tools too, like your firewall, your load balancers. I don't want to go into technical details, but everything that is connected within your network environment of your organization falls as an endpoint. Another thing that is making a lot of ground now is UEBA. UEBA is, I call it UEBA, I don't know if that's what they call it, UEBA. It means user and entity behavioral analytics. And what it does is that it uses machine learning and AI to monitor your environment. So most current EDRs now add this underneath that helps it to monitor your network activities. It establishes baselines, and then based on those baselines, it can now detect what is normal behavior or abnormal behavior in terms of user activity, network traffic, and what have you. And then it will also flag dangerous anomalies. All right, so that's what that does. Now, another thing organizations need to put in place as well is you must practice the principle of least privilege. So the principle of least privilege says that as an employee, your access on the system or to the organization is limited to your job role. So what your job role needs for you to, or what your job function, what you need to carry out your job function should be the only thing you have access. So if you're in HR, you should have access to only things required by HR. Someone in HR should not have access to a file that is required by only finance and vice versa. All right. So that privilege of this privilege, that's a principle of this privilege says will not help you if there's a compromise. It becomes is not spread, right? You can easily isolate it. All right. Now, another thing is access reviews. So you must have audit tools. You regularly audit what is going on within your environment. Who is assessing what? Who assesses these documents and so time if there's an issue, can always trace it back to where it came from. All right. So your regular audits, keep audit logs, analyze them. And then another thing that is very important, offboarding. All right. So at the point where an employee no more works for an organization, immediately, the point where he's leaving, you don't wait until he has left. You remove his access on the system immediately. So not that an employee leaves today, tomorrow he still have access to his email, corporate email, right? Or his work email. So you must also review this all the time. So you have to carry out review all the time on it. All right. Also implement an insider threat program. It should be a way of dictating a confidence of someone that may be attempting to carry out systems. There should be a formal way of detecting and a way of reporting as well, internal reporting. All right. And then finally, always carry out security awareness training. Now, this is the most important one anyway. All employees need to be trained on security awareness. They need to be trained on how to identify social engineering attacks. They need to be trained on what kind of attacks that they could be vulnerable to, how to use devices, especially company devices, and even their personal devices, because today you know that even mobile phones, people have their corporate data on it, corporate email on it, right? And you might even have one or two corporate software as well. Now, there's technology already on ground that can help you, separate your work files from your personal files or personal access on your phone. There, if that phone is compromised, the admin can, from the back end, remotely wipe off all the data belonging to that organization from your phone. So if there's a theft of that phone or laptop or whatever, the IT knows how to do that. That's their skill, but it's something that should be implemented. Now, on the individual side, verify identity. We always say trust but verify, but we've gotten to the next stage now because of the way the world is going. We say don't trust, always verify. All right, so the whole idea of multi-factor authentication falls on trust but verify. But the person has given you username and password, but you still want to verify it is the person. All right, always verify identity. Sometimes you have individuals call, send an email. Maybe your boss sends an email authorizing a particular department. You can put a call through the mobile direct to the boss to verify it. So use a different channel to verify. All right. Always think, don't rush. In the banking sector, because I worked in the banking sector for some time, by regulation, we are trained to recognize fraudsters, like based on their appearance, the way they talk, like, and then they let us know that it takes just like 30 seconds for you to identify this person, or else you start following him already. That idea of they're already working on psychology. All right. So the way they talk, they're over friendly and all that. Yes, the urgency in you need to carry out action. You need to do this fast, or else in the next 30 minutes your account will be blocked and all that. So that's another thing you need to look at. So always think before you take actions. Never click on verified links. If you see a link coming from somewhere you are not, you don't trust, you don't know, don't click on it. Report suspicious activity. Now, this is where a lot of employees get it wrong. A lot of people try to cover up their mistakes, especially if it's coming from them, right? Or cover up other people's mistakes. The faster you report a scenario or an incident, the faster it is for it to be recovered. The less damage that incident can happen, because of course the incident response team, the IT team, cybersecurity team, they're already working to come out of that attack or that threat at that time. All right. But when you leave it, when you keep quiet, the attacker is gaining an upper hand. Remember, it's not just coming in through one system and remaining on that system, right? He wants to gain more access, get as far as possible he can in your organization, get as much access level, calculate his privileges and all that. So always report. Over report. In cybersecurity, we say report. Even when you are not sure, just report. Let's do our investigation. All right. Over report, don't under report. Nobody will laugh at you and say, oh, you reported a false incident. What if it was real? All right. So that's for the individual action. Now, we're coming to the end of the presentation. What are the key takeaways? We know the human layer is the weakest link. The human layer could also be the strongest link as well. All right. Most breaches will always exploit some level of human psychology. Attackers go online, they go read about you on social media, they go to your social media, they get information about you before carrying out social engineering attacks, so that they can speak things that are happening in your life, that real information about you to make you lose that guard that you've put up, right? To make you trust them. So most breaches express human psychology, not technological flaw. Insider threats are more common than you think. Seeing our statistics that 77% of organizations have experienced some form of insider threats. Training is your best defense. Like I said, of course, that's what we are doing right now. We're doing the training right now. Look at behavior of individuals or potential attackers. Look at the way you should know how they behave, how they would try to make you lower your guard. Regular training, of course, will transform your employee into a human firewall. You can now detect that this is a potential attacker. This is someone that's, and this is someone that is a legitimate individual within the organization. Another thing we should note here is that when communicating corporately within an organization, there should be a communication channel. All right. Once communication is coming outside that communication channel, you have to be on the guard. All right. There should be a laid down communication channel, maybe through corporate emails, through the organization's Teams chat or whatever. Whatever has been set down is fine. But any communication that is not coming outside that should put you on your guard. So training is your best defense. Security is everyone's responsibility. Whether you are a privileged user, you are just a normal user, you're not even a system user, right? Maybe you don't work with systems, you're not involved in organizations network and all that. You still require security training. So it's for everyone. Organizations should actually, as a point of responsibility, try to carry out, and this is going to management, try to carry out security awareness training at least every 6 months. All right. So if you manage security training where you manage social engineering training well, the human factor will become your biggest cybersecurity defense. So they will no more be your weakest. All right. Now, coming to an end, round up. These are questions we will ask ourselves. Wherever we are, whatever organization. Reflect on this. So what's your experience? Has your organization ever experienced any form of social engineering? How was it handled? Do you think it was handled, promptly, was handled effectively? What are the most likely trends that you have in your work environment? All right. I lost network there briefly. Sorry about that. So I was saying, we're running up now. Just a second. Okay, so what do you think is your organization's when you think your organization's human firewall is the weakest, and how do you feel it can be improved? When you how can we increase employee security awareness without creating a culture of fear? You know, there are some organizations that have this kind of environment, like you report wrongly, um, you get penalized for it, get paid for it. All right. So what's the structure? How do you feel it can be improved? These are salient questions we need to ask ourselves, and then based on the answers, we can now bring up a template for your cybersecurity team on how to improve social engineering awareness, um, um, reduce employee threats. All right. On a final thoughts or final words rather, I already know that security is a responsibility. And every member of the team, every member from the lowest ranking to the highest ranking has a role to play in organizational assets and also protecting that. So you need to stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay vigilant. So with that, we've come to the end of this presentation. We have some sources for further reading here. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. I'm open for questions right now. Thank you, everyone.
Wow. That was an amazing session. Please let's react. Let's clap for our guest speaker. That was wonderful and very powerful and very insightful. Please let's use our reaction. Let's appreciate him. It's not easy to schedule time from his busy schedule to come and enlighten us. You know, it was very wonderful. Prior to the session, I had some questions jotted down that I was going to ask, but it seemed as he was just reading my mind and he was just answering all of them. You know, it was just so educative. So at this point, please, if you have any questions, please you can just go ahead and unmute and ask questions. Let's utilize the opportunity that we have. So the floor is yours. Let's ask questions. So just raise your hand and unmute and ask questions. Thank you. Any questions? Are we trying to come up with the questions, or are you guys like me has answered all our questions? Anybody can just unmute and go ahead. Okay. Okay. Maybe we are still thinking about our questions. Anyway, so let me just ask. This is just like a general question, anyways. Because most of the questions you really did a very wonderful the presentation was really insightful, and it took us to we got a real world experience, real world scenario. We got to understand. You brought it home, so everybody we got an understanding. But just a brief question, right? So for organizations that are just beginning to strengthen their cybersecurity posture, where would you say they should focus on first? Should they focus on technology, policy, or the people? That's just one of the questions. Um, did you get my question, sir?
I'm sorry, Peter, the network was lagging. Please, can you come again with the last thing you said now?
Oh, okay. I was asking the. Do you have a question? I was asking our speaker question. Since I was waiting for someone to, if somebody had any question, we should or comment rather, comment or
Oh,
questions. Let's just
sorry.
bring it
Okay,
on.
so let me just come in this way because I there are many valid points he raised in his presentation. Or he mentioned where a third party, where you can actually, you know, find yourself in some risk as a result of third party software you are using or vendor. And that is a very valid point because there are many recorded instances of breaches that, happened from maybe a software you used for accounting has been compromised via its source code. So now you now find out that the threat actors are considering more of software as a service providers. Now, what are the modern ways to deal with such emerging threats in terms that these people now target the third party providers or software companies, and as a virtue of that, they are able to get into your network. So, what are the um, checks a company can put in place for such events?
All right. Thank you very much for that question, Dami. Um, I don't know if our speaker can hear you. So the oh, all right, sir. So please go ahead, sir.
All right. So for the first question, um, a new organization that is just starting to implement cybersecurity, of course, you have to start first from your cybersecurity strategy, right? What framework you want to use. You're going to create your own framework. You're going to follow one that's already just there. You decide that that's coming from the management level. So you start from the organizational level, right? Um, you start by putting a cybersecurity strategy roadmap. Then you start building. First of all, you have to first implement policies, right? Create policies and then push them on. Now, based on those policies, that's when your IT team now starts, you know, doing the implementation. The cybersecurity team starts doing the implementation in terms of practice within the organization, in terms of solutions and software organization, how to keep it secure and all that. And then you build from there. So whatever you are doing is not fixed. It's not you just do it once and leave it. There must be consistent review, right? So that you don't go obsolete, right? There must be consistent review. There are some security policies you have to review. There are some you can leave them for you. There are some that you have to review immediately. There is, because most of them you have to review immediately. There's a regulation that. All right. So, for example, if CPA should come today and say, everybody in Nigeria, all organizations have registered CPN. I don't know. I'm just saying something like that. A policy like that, and then it's happening immediately. All right. So you also look at the external factor. The laws already on ground, security laws, compliance laws already on ground that you have to follow. So it has to be. So you go from there. From your security review, from your audits, you improve from there. So there's no perfect, there's no, in the security world, we don't say there's no 100% security organization. It's something that you keep on improving on. But the more you're improving on it, the stronger you're getting, stronger your security. So that's my take on the first question. But the second one, yes, when it comes to third-party risk, it's becoming a big issue right now because you hardly have any organization that is not using a third-party solution, right? And from the way cyber attacks go nowadays, initially you used to have, there are some big organizations that you don't really hear much of attacks on them. But nowadays, there's no big, there's no small. Everybody gets attacked, right? In the last 2 3 years, the big names in tech, you've seen an attack on them. right? So when it comes to implementing third-party solutions, first of all, you have to do your due diligence. You have to, check what securities on those solutions are giving. How do you integrate them into your system? Because the integration process could also open some security loopholes within your organization, right? How do you integrate it securely? Now, another thing too, for those that use APIs, you have to do API security, right? And this is not such a common practice, but actually advise organizations once in a while do even though it's you may not be required to do it. I know in the financial sector and health sector is a requirement for the regulation. But once in a while, do a vulnerability assessment. So don't wait for attackers to come and test themselves on your system. Get professionals ethically test your system for security flaws, right? And then when you are doing those pen tests, penetration testing, you're also testing your third party. How are they being integrated? What flaws can you see? All right. So those are just ways you can make sure you're printing. Another thing you can do as well is before getting a third party, before getting a vendor's solution, getting a vendor like I said, you do your due diligence. So make sure you check out their security, do an assessment, right? They will not specifically tell you this is the integral part of what you are doing, but they can give you a top level overview how they secure data and how they secure that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Any other question? Is there any other person that has another question? Okay, so no other question. All right, sir. I just want to ask another question, right? So the question is, in some organizations, right, they do this, they carry out awareness training, sometimes maybe once in a year. And I know from what you've said, and it's something that should be done regularly. Is there a fixed or recommended process or recommended should I say schedule that is required that organizations practice, maybe quarterly, monthly? Because over the course of the year, I believe they tend to employ new staffs. Should it be only when they employ new staffs, or it should be a fixed thing? Just is there a regulated or a fixed time that it should be carried out?
Okay, yeah, thank you for that question. Now, first of all, at the onboarding process, when you are getting in new staff, they need to be aware of security processes within the organization, the security practice that they need to adhere to. At the point of onboarding, of course, you must do that for new staff. When it comes to training, the times for cybersecurity awareness training, in Nigeria, we have the Nigerian Data Protection Act, which all organizations are supposed to, right? And part of that act says that you should have cybersecurity. You should have. Now, well, they didn't really call it cybersecurity awareness training, but it called it data protection, right? And you need to have that data protection awareness training at least once a year. All right, so once a year is fine. Also, if you are, like I said earlier, if you are following any standard, cybersecurity standard or framework, many of them require you involve your staff in cybersecurity awareness training, right? So, for example, if you are following ISO 27001, certified in ISO 27001 as an organization are part of the requirements because you have to do audits yearly to renew your certification. Part of the requirements is that you should have trained your staff in your entire staff base, not just some. You should have trained them in cybersecurity awareness. And theirs is every 6 months. So they'll actually train your employees in cybersecurity awareness. All right. Now you have to meet up with that requirement. It's part of the requirements you have to meet up with, get the certification. So that's part of what you need to get that ISO 270. So there's a compliance requirement, and then there's also the following certain activities. Also, it's also a good practice. It's a very good practice because when it comes to cybersecurity, when it comes to awareness, things are changing. It's dynamic. All right, the way attacks are happening, the way attackers are over time, they get more stuff. A lot of attackers now are using AI, right, to speed up the attack process. So this, as a cybersecurity professional, you also have to, come up and train your staff on how to recognize certain attacks as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I just want to one last question, sir. Because before you mentioned I was okay, let me hold on for Adeyemi, please go ahead. After Adeyemi, I'll ask the question. Adeyemi,
So I just wanted to, chip in. See, phishing awareness campaign once a year, as speculated in the Nigerian Data Protection Framework, to me is not does not hold water. Reason is that, as I mentioned in my KD maybe 2 days ago, the average discovery time for a network intrusion is 210 days, according to maybe Microsoft or IBM. Now, if the average time for discovery is 210 days, they would have been in your network for that long. Therefore, phishing awareness campaign should be part of every organization's culture. To me, it should be more sufficient if it's about once every quarter of the year, and in between that, some unannounced phishing campaign should be carried out so that you get an actual picture of the level of awareness in your organization of these threats. Because, like it or not, it is. I think I found out somewhere that about 63% of all organizations worldwide have had their data breached. So it is probably the highest threats organizations are facing generally. So phishing awareness campaign should be more regular than once in a year. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you for that. I totally agree with you. Like I was saying, all the requirements I say is minimum. That's the minimum requirement. Of course, if you are in an organization, you will not wait for once a year to do that. Just because you want to make up requirements. But if you're actually after strengthening the security, you will know that phishing campaigns are things that we do actively, right? Even Microsoft backend, they have everything set up for you. As an admin, you can run phishing campaign at any time. And it gives you the data, gives you the results, tell you who has clicked on the link and who reported it, who did not open it, and all that. And then based on that, you can now take action, organize training for those who you need to. So that's just the minimum requirement. Not like you must leave it at that. Most organizations.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So, thank you very much, Ademi, for that contribution as well. Um, thank you. So, sir, my question is this happened to me sometime earlier this year. I got an email because you mentioned, and I was about asking, the use of AI really has made phishing, has made the campaigns a lot easier on cyber criminals. For before now, you could spot maybe a threat actor. You could spot a phishing campaign maybe from the write up, the English. Maybe the write up is not professional enough. You see some mistakes here and there. But nowadays, you see them use AI, and most times AI even delivers, and even the professionals in the field don't even write as good as AI. Uh, what AI will give to you. So I got an email one of these times, and I can't remember exactly the organization, but the email was that I was rewarded. I was part of those rewarded for a data breach. I forgot the company that had the data breach, and they were sued for the data breach, and claim the email claimed that I should follow through to submit my add my maybe details to the those who are filing for it, who will be getting a remuneration of about, is it $300 or thereabout at that time. Though I found the email late, it was my spam, so I found it late, and I went ahead. I said, okay, let me just confirm. I didn't click. I went to AI and gave it to AI. I said, okay, is this real? And AI actually gave me a link, gave me a sighting, which of course I went to a legit site. I think I've forgotten the full details of the site, but I went to the site and confirmed that indeed this company was actually sued exactly as it was stated, and AI told me that this is actually legit. But because of I wasn't so sure, I didn't bother, and because I didn't want to, I had already had knowledge about cybersecurity, but I wasn't sure. But however, it sounded so convincing to the fact that even AI was affirming and gave me some links that to check to confirm, and I checked those links which I knew were legitimate, and found that truly those sue actually occurred. So how do we now enlighten people to be able to differentiate? Because sometimes they are too good uh, to differentiate or try to stay a step ahead of such cases. Thank you, sir.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the question. Now, during my presentation, remember I said that we have what we call pretexting, where you use a false identity and a scenario to gain trust. And I also talked about social proof, the bandwagon effect, where people feel that other people are doing it, right? Most people that would want to carry out a phishing attack or a social engineering attack, right, would use a real scenario. So it's not surprising that there's actually that same organization paying out individuals. But the thing is, are you part of those that lost or those that are claiming the damage, or did you register on that organization that was the victim of a cyber attack? Were you involved in any legal matter with them? So those are the questions you should ask yourself. Now, like you've pointed out, AI makes it easy because, of course, maybe the person that who sent you that mail did not even know about that situation. They are looking through AI, and AI gives different actual happenings that are going on. So the main thing is you have to verify, right? Do your own independent research. Don't be in a rush to compromise yourself, right? Another thing I noticed too, apart from urgency in mails or in message now this is from my own personal experience from investigation and all that. There's always some form of, you always see typo errors in their emails. You always see typo errors. You always see something that will just, kind of pick your conscience, like this thing may not be real, right? But there's always that monetary gain that would want to push that part of your right? I stand to gain 300, right? Also, the link the website is sending you to, if you hover your mouse over it, you see that it's different from that of the actual site that you went to, right? The link, the phishing mail wants you to go to, will be different from the real one, right? It might look the same, but when you hover your mouse over it, you see that there might be just one little difference or one little change of character. All right, so those are things you need to be aware of. I know when it comes to social engineering attacks, there's been a lot of improvements now from what it was in the past. It was easier to recognize in the past. I'll give you, there was this, I don't know if that is a joke or it really happened, but it was going around in one of the WhatsApp group I was on, group, that they did a phishing campaign, and they did a phishing campaign in the organization, and the malicious or supposedly what's supposed to be the malicious link or file that they attached to the email, talking about the increase in salaries, that even the incident response team and the IT head clicked, the IT head or the head of cybersecurity, I can't remember who now, clicked on that link. So they are not like, who do they now punish if those that supposed to be the ones protected are the ones for victims? So it's possible that you may not see, or not you may not see. You just have to put more scrutiny when you are going through things like that. Another thing you are, like me, I always ask myself is that, did I happen to be a victim of, for this example that you're giving now? Like, I will ask myself, did I happen to be a victim of any data breach recently from this organization? So where is money coming from? All right. So that's just my take on that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. That's very well understood. I think it happened. It was a breach on is it Google? I think it was on Google. I think, and it was so convincing because of the fact that it was something that was relative. I think it had he said the internet users if you use the internet within 2020, 2010 or 2014 to a certain time, that there was a breach, and those who were involved in that breach were meant to receive, and it had the .gov link that was looking legit, though it was, I think when I checked, it was hosted on an AWS platform server. But at the end of the day, so thank you very much, sir. That was wonderful. It's been a pleasure having you come share real world scenarios and insight with us. The session has been quite insightful, and I'm sure everyone here learned a thing or two from the entire session. So I want to sincerely appreciate you on behalf of the Blink community. I want to thank you for taking our time from the busy schedule to join us. And also, I want to thank every other person who joined this session. Thank you for also joining. Thank you for participating, and I hope you'll be able to learn one or two things. So I think that will be all for now. So thank you, and thank you. We look forward to having you come share